Right, so Andy and Bethan, thanks for joining us. So,
Hi.
where are you guys? What church are you at?
We're at Riverside Vineyard Church, just to the west side of London.
West side of London. So that's where you normally are when you're not sequestered in your home.
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. So, part of a series of really short interviews we've been doing with people, 3 questions to pastors to find out how they've been navigating the coronavirus, COVID-19, and what they've been learning, and so that we can all learn together and be encouraged together. So, first question I sent you was, given the exhaustive experience none of us have of this crisis, how have you ramped into this? Are you still ramping into it? What did you have to do? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I think just the first thing you said there, we were really helped with that, the post put out from Neil Young at Causeway Coast, where his first point was, none of us were trained for this. And I found that very incredibly helpful, actually.
Freeing.
Very freeing. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of stuff you learn on them, but none of us have lived through a global pandemic. So, there is no manual, there's no guidelines. So we found that very comforting. I think we found working with a team just to be incredibly helpful, because we just find there's people in such different places. Introverts often are liking this, extroverts are really struggling. Some people living on their own are doing great, others less great. Some families are really enjoying it, other families are just tearing each other's hair out. And so just knowing where different people are, it's such a huge spectrum. And then you throw in grief and loss and employment and death and all of that. So just having pooled wisdom is just priceless.
Yeah, it is.
Tech. We were just blessed that we had a bunch of tech in place already. Yeah. So and some techie people either on staff or good lay leaders. So we were able to switch into stream services. In fact, we streamed the service before lockdown just as a test, just in case. And then the next day we went into lockdown, so we were ready. So that was a massive blessing. And we had a guy on staff. And have for the last couple of years doing all of our media and comms. And so I know not every church has that sort of thing, but it was just a massive blessing to us to have some people around that knew how to do comms and media stuff. Yeah. Do you want to some of the Mark Crosby stuff?
Well, Mark Crosby's resources have been brilliant. From those online resources, in fact, we passed them on to other church leaders outside the Vineyard too. Yeah. It's really, really helpful. And then I think one of the massive ones I'm sure we've all seen is the importance of connection at this time, and so many different ways of doing it. We've just been recording just short videos, just a couple of minutes, maybe at the beginning of our weekly email, what's going on, but just so people see you and know that you're okay. And we've done that for some of our small group leaders and our team leaders, and just keeping connected in as many possible ways as we can.
Brilliant.
Know the different communications, and then. I suppose related to that is just the critical importance of small groups. I mean, I think we would be lost without them. We really would. What saddens me is the number of people that are not in small groups, despite the fact that obviously we're always saying this is the best place. I don't know what you can do about that. We're still pushing it hard, aren't we?
A couple of other things we've just learned from reading around is we've tried to avoid the mistake of just taking what we would normally do in a live setting and put it online. So we do this thing now where I'm recording it sat in an armchair. Most weeks we have about 6 or 7 different little videos from people in their own homes. And that's been massively well received, just because it so relates to where people are. So just kept it really simple, really personal. And I think one of the things that I keep saying to our team is one thing at a time, first things first. So it's just not trying to do everything in the first week of lockdown. There are things that we're about to put in place now, which, we could have done 4 weeks ago, but would have probably killed people. So it's just saying, don't worry about that. Just one thing at a time. Don't burn out. There's a big danger of burnout in this response phase.
It's interesting. We've noticed I've talked to our guys about adjustment, investment, engagement as how we've labelled the phases. The
Right.
adjustment is the ramp up bit, and then we've got this chance to invest rather than just twiddling our thumbs. But it's like the novelty has sort of worn off for everyone.
Yeah.
And the amazing, I said to our team, it was yesterday. The amazing thing is all this stuff is on the internet. The awful thing is all these things are on the internet, because suddenly everyone's going, why haven't we got that? And why haven't we got an 80-piece choir, an orchestra?
Yeah.
And why don't we have a full kids service for 3 hours beforehand? And, just because everyone sees it, they think, oh, you must be able to do this. Have you had anything like that?
Yeah, I think it's managing expectations, isn't it? Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it.
Yeah.
And so, like in the worship arena, the guys, they did a fabulous thing for Easter Sunday where they recorded tracks in different people's homes with 2 video shots for each person playing, times 5 people in a band, and they brought together 4 songs for Easter Sunday, and it was amazing. But the other weeks, and we've just said to people, that is like a one-off.
Yes, yeah.
Just to serve you on Easter Sunday. The rest of the time, it's been like a person and a guitar or a keyboard in a home, and that's been absolutely good too. So we could do it every week, but we would kill people. And I'm just not sure it's as connecting as just the simplicity of just. Like, I think one of the things that I read is like, if you've normally got 200 people in a room, you have to change your style from one person connecting with 200 to one person connecting with 200 rooms of one person in them each. So the style is much, so like in terms of preaching, I'm not preaching to 200 people. I'm having a one-to-one conversation with 1 or 2 people. It's just multiplied a couple of hundred times.
Yeah.
And it just changes style. It's much more conversational. You wouldn't get out your PowerPoint if you were having a one-to-one conversation. It would be weird. It's just, you'd have a chat, wouldn't you? And it would be the same kind of content, but the way it's framed and the way it's presented is different.
And like you say, I think you mentioned before we hit record, steep learning curve for all of this, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's just trying to kind of keep one sentence ahead of the staff who are
I don't find out.
People they're leading. Yeah.
And we're like, well, we're glad you know what we're doing. We're like, we don't know what we're doing.
I keep talking to our guys about clarity in the church. I say, look, we can't have certainty, but we can be clear about what we're doing and why we think we're doing it. Could be helpful.
Yeah, really good.
That's lovely. So then, second question is, so in the middle of all of that, what resources have you found the most helpful, and what are you, because I guess like a lot of people are looking at stuff, finding materials. It's just such amazing. I mean, I'm amazed at the quality of material that the church around the world's producing for us. But out of all of that, what's been most helpful to you and what continues to be?
Yeah. I'll tell you something that we have found helpful, and we just actually took our staff through a bunch of training this morning. I came across this short, it was like a 4 or 5 minute video from Forge Leadership, which I think is out in Suffolk somewhere.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And it's from a guy, I think Simon Billingham or something like this.
Yeah, we know him.
We know him, yeah.
Yeah, okay. He talks about this framework, which he's learnt from international disaster kind of arena. And it's response, recovery, and reconstruction.
All right.
Oh, that's good.
And the response, because one of the things that I've been really kind of going around in my head is like, how do we plan when things are so uncertain? And like you were saying just before you press record, Jace, I mean, normally we work off a 1-year preaching plan. Right now, I'm rolling out every like 4 to 6 weeks, because the situation is changing so fast, and us wanting to kind of speak as helpfully we can to people in the place where they find themselves. That year's plan has gone, but nonetheless, we need to plan, because things carry on and we will come out of this. And then what do we do at that point? So this little framework, he talks about response is sort of like that initial phase of kind of like 0 to 3 months, where people are running hard, running fast. There's a danger of burnout, but you're just helping people to respond. And he talks about people actually coming down to that lowest level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So it's all about food and shelter, and that's what we're seeing is that, you know, can I get bread and pasta and loo roll?
Loo roll. Yeah.
And so people are not thinking about vision and self-actualization. They're just thinking, can I put food on the table? And so that we found that. And then the next phase is recovery, and he says that often lasts from 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
And it's characterized. That's perfect. It's characterized by a lot of mental health issues, a tsunami of grief, of trauma, of pain, of all of that stuff coming out. Yeah. So I think one of the things that we've been talking to our team about is we need to get ready for that recovery phase. We're not there yet, but there's no point when the doors open just saying, hey, let's all go again, as if nothing had happened. Yes, because actually this massive shock has hit everybody, and it is going to be a psychological mess for at least a year of just getting people. You know, he talks about, you know, people are going to value relationships far more, their health far more. Issues of fairness and justice are going to come right up the order. And it's not going to be just returning to normal. It's going to be completely reshaped as part of that recovery phase. And then a reconstruction phase of, like, just, you know, kind of people reconstructing lives, and some people's lives will not go back to how they were. Other people will just follow their life dreams that they've been meaning to do anyway, and this has just jolted them. Other people, this will be, you know, dealing with loss and of loved ones and jobs and careers and all of that kind of stuff. But we're just trying to help our team not to get ahead too far, but equally we need to be thinking about the recovery phase, even though we're not there yet. But we were just finding this framework of response, recovery and reconstruction, just at least giving a grid into which we can now start to think about the months and the year or 18 months ahead. And before that, we were just thinking, well, like, where do you start? Because it is so uncertain.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah, I'm hearing that from a lot of people. So say for us, we landed on the adjust, invest, engage, a similar, you know, the ramp into the crisis. Next thing, investment is, well, what's God doing with us? You know, we want to lean into that so that we don't just numb ourselves and come out of the end of it in a complete mess and all unravel. But what does God want to do in this period with us so that we can then engage in the mission of what God's called us to afterwards for life with. And those things overlap, don't they? You know, people are adjusting in different phases. Some people are really investing, others aren't. And, you know, some people are all ready to hit the road and do all the things that they can see God might do. Wonderful. So third and last question then was something personal. What's been one of the biggest challenges for you to deal with personally, and what's been one of the biggest blessings that God's done?
So personally, I think the biggest challenge I struggle with personally, I think, is that pastoral connection with people. Just feeling, are we looking after our people? And there's only so much you can do, but in this situation where you're not even seeing them at the door and saying hello, and it's particularly those people that are not in small groups that just challenges me constantly. We've got, I think we've got about 500 people in small groups, which is awesome, but that leaves about 400 who are not. And what connection have those 400 people had in the last 3 weeks? And it's just so hard to know. That's one of the ones that I personally carry a lot, I think.
For me, I've thrown trying to plan in the midst of financial uncertainty is a nightmare. You know, conversations with our trustees, it's kind of like
toss a coin,
roll a dice.
What number do you want to put in the spreadsheet?
Black ball,
lucky 8 ball.
I mean, there's working through some HR conversations. You know, what do we need to potentially plan to do? Not physically being with the team that we love is hard. And I think there's a danger of overworking because of the blurring between home and workspace. You know, it's now sort of one space. So just trying to practically do some stuff to, you know, segregate things a little bit. Greatest blessing?
Oh, do you know, for me, it's got to be all of us, 4 of us being at home with that dad. because I guess the kids were of an age where we weren't really sure whether they would ever really come back and live with us again, and now they are, and I really like it. The lack of food. I just love it.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
We've seen compassion teams just step up and just do an awesome job. They've responded just amazingly, and just volunteers stepping up. Small groups have done just so well. Just quickly jumping into online spaces and connecting in meaningful ways and doing quiz nights, and as well as some other stuff has just been fabulous. And then we've we know that there's a whole lot of people connecting with our Sunday services that would not normally darken the door of a church. And in fact, just hearing back from some of our people, they're finding it really easy to invite their friends, because their friends don't even have to get out of their pajamas to come to church.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of people indicating that they've made a decision for Jesus over the last few Sundays. Try and follow those up, but that's just been it's been a real blessing, I think.
Awesome. Similar. Well, lots for us. We worry about the people that aren't connected. I mean, we were in the middle of Everyday Supernatural. Well, we were about to launch it, copying you. And I think a few days before the Prime Minister's announcement, I said, I don't think we're going to be able to do this. So I'm glad we hit the pause button. But we always wanted to get more people into small groups. We managed to hit over 90%.
I personally rang everyone.
Well, we had a good number anyway, but Bev rang through everyone, and a whole load of them did join. But the people that aren't, they're just cut off from, if it wasn't for small groups, they just, maybe they got the live stream. But I think that's the thing. I'm finding it hard. Like, you have to rely on data and information, like number of views and time people. You're like, well, how are people? Are they there? If they are there, are they connecting? I'm finding that really, really hard.
Yeah.
What about you?
The hard thing is, it's pastoral care. Because in some ways they need it even more. There's marriage breakups going on and child protection issues, and you're like, I cannot even hug you or anything. So I find that hard. But encouraged by the community. I think like you, they're just all doing a great job.
People coming back to faith, people, like you say, inviting their friends, because there's just an openness and an ease, isn't there, at the minute? And there's Christ. Well, we've got nothing else to do. Why don't you try? This might help you. That's been
we led someone to Jesus last week.
Which is encouraging. Which is really encouraging, and people stepping up. So it's amazing, isn't it? In the midst of it, kind of weird. I've just got to the point when I wake up in the mornings, I don't have to remind myself that this has really happened. It's taken a few weeks. It's like, does that really happen?
No, we just say, what day is it?
What day is it? Have you heard the one? March was the longest year of my life. Well, thank you guys. Short and sweet, but some tips for people. Lovely to see you and encourage us.
Really nice chat.
Thanks, guys.